is I hear a lot of schools whose revenue goes way down over the summer. And so what happens is, mom and dad, come in and say, we want to cancel our program for June, July, August. Well, why is that? Billy's going to be at grandma's and then this is happening and this is happening. I never had a revenue dip at all over the summer. Now, if you've been doing things month to month, one of the problems with month to month is they don't have a big incentive to pay you if they think they're going to be busy and not be there. On the other hand, if you're doing a 1 year agreement followed by an agreement to black belt, it changes the dynamic. So that's number one. Number two, if the way the program is structured is, it's 897 when you start, and then it's 397 a month on a 12-month agreement, and then when you renew, it's 1,500 and 697 a month. It changes the dynamic altogether. And what happens is if somebody comes in, and we would want to do this proactively, we would want to be in May talking to all the students, asking about their summer schedule. Are they going to be in town? Are they going to be out of town? Are there any periods when they're going to miss? Why? We're going through their ID card and wanting to make sure that they have their lessons on track for their testing so that if possible, they don't get behind in their testing over the summer. They don't lose out on their lessons. So, mom, dad, and the kids are going to Disney World for 2 weeks, God forbid, in July. Having done it, don't go to Disney World in July is my recommendation. But if they're going to go to Disney World for a couple of weeks, we just talk to them and say, well, that's 4 lessons. We need to get some makeup, classes before you leave, some makeup classes when you get back. You'll still be on top of your testing cycle. On the other hand, divorced couple, they live in two different cities and they leave town for 3 months for dad. Okay, what we do is we just add the time to the end of the program. We do a summer hold on the lessons. You keep paying the tuition payments. We'll make a note in the file that we'll do makeup classes when you get back. Add the time to the end of the program. You don't lose anything, right? So what you don't want to do is have people coming in wanting to stop their payments, stop their lessons for the summer because they're busy. We do have some exceptions where, they're literally legitimately gone for 3 months, but that we're just going to add the time at the end, give them credit, and then work on getting them made up and let them keep from falling behind. Or even, you know, if it was my druthers, I'd never do another Zoom class for the rest of my life. And I think most of our parents would prefer that. But it is an opportunity if you wanted to, you know, run the classes on Zoom and let them try to train from grandma's house or from the dad's house. I doubt if you'll get much effectiveness with that, but that is a second alternative. Any questions about that?
Yeah, how do you, Master Oliver, how do you respond um to someone who asks if we could like pause their payments for a couple months because they're going to be busy, like you said, for the summer or whatever it is?
Well, we can certainly if you're going to be out of town, we can certainly um, um, pause your lesson. We'll put those at the end of your program. We'll put in makeup lessons to get started. You just keep making the monthly tuition, but then what we do is we add that to the end.
Okay.
And by the way, I mean to be fair, it helps to have explained this with the enrollment, right? And I don't mean in the enrollment conference, but when we do the enrollment packet, we have kind of the rules and regulations and everything. And I have it built into our contract, but we just tell them, you make the payments, you're not going to lose anything because we're going to add that time to the end.
When
Okay.
So
and
now, so now instead of
you guys should
good,
all be doing enrollment folders. And when you do the enrollment folder, that's one of the things that we tell them in the enrollment folder. That this, you've signed up for the basic program. That's an annual membership, and if you're going to be gone anytime or sick anytime during this period for more than 2 weeks, just fill out a slip. And we had a slip, it's called a freeze slip. that says I'm going to be gone from this time to this time, and I understand that my payments are still due, but the time will be added on to the end of my program. And then I have them sign it, and then I give them a copy of that, and I have it in my records. They have it in their records, so everything is good. And now they know ahead of time never to get into that situation because you already explained it. But don't do it on the enrollment. Do it when you do the enrollment folder. Remember, that's usually sometimes a week or the next class after they've signed their agreement and they've started their classes.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't get into a long conversation about that unless they ask. I mean, if they ask, um, I've had a lot of divorced couples where literally dad's in another state, or mom, or grandparents for that matter. And then I'm just saying, oh, it's not a problem. We just add the time to the end of the program. You just make the normal tuition payments, and it's all fine. Um, you know, we never had a problem with that. What happens though, if you're doing month to month and you set them up to think about it differently, you've got to get them changed on to regular programs to get off of that. But once they're there, and then the other thing is you in most cases, without other than the example I just gave, most people aren't gone for 3 months. Hell, how are they holding a job? Most people are gone for a week. Maybe they're gone for 2 weeks. Maybe if you're in a super rich area and you've got dad works on from his laptop. Maybe some people go. I know Krista has a bunch of folks who are gone in August. We used to have a school in not in Dubai, but in Bahrain, and he swore the entire country left for August. But other than that, it tends not to be a problem. Your question was about doing a summer special offer of some sort, and I've done all kinds of different offers. Here's the rule: whatever the offer is, you treat it like all the others. In other words, they come in for intro one, intro two, enroll at intro two. You don't do an offer that's like a 3 month offer and you wait till the end of 3 months to see if they want to do something else, because they won't. The second thing is I, for years did a 3 month summer offer, and then changed it to a 6 week offer, and then changed it to summer special, did the normal thing we always do. And I'm not sure it made much difference. I will tell you, the shorter the offer, the easier it is to convert them to an enrollment. So maybe the sweet spot is a 4 or 6 week offer, a paid offer, $197 for 6 weeks, includes the uniform. But when you're doing that, what you're doing is you're saying it's normally when they come in, they pay the 197. You're saying now, let's do the first couple classes. What most people decide is they're doing this just to see if they like it. You should have enough of a sense of what we're doing by the time I load you up with information and by the time you do the next class to decide if you want to move forward. If you do, you've already paid 197. We give you a $300 credit for that, and then take that off of the initial tuition and still give you the 6 weeks. So then you're prepping them, and then when they come into the enrollment, it's normally $800 to enroll. Since you came in from the 197 summer offer, we give you a $300 discount if you go ahead and finalize the enrollment today, and you still get the 6 weeks, and then we add the 6 weeks to the end of it. So just go ahead and flip them with any offer. The thing is, I always think of it like a matrix. Is there's paid offers, there's free offers, there's long offers, there's short offers. If I had my druthers from a standpoint of how easy it is to convert somebody when they come in, I'd rather have a super short paid offer. From a standpoint of what pulls better, free offers, especially online, almost always outpull paid offers. The second element is, a 2-lesson or a 2-week offer is easier to convert naturally than a 1 month offer, 6 months offer, or whatever. So again, if I had my druthers, I prefer free and short. It is the best combination of volume and easy to convert. that answer your question, Jerry? Okay, good. Anything else before we call it a day? We're a little over our time limit here. William, any you just popped in at the end here. Any thoughts for everybody on why they should make sure they go to the next live event or takeaways that's been a while from this event?
Yeah, so every event that I've gone to live meeting, I've improved my gross income in the school. So I think that's a good enough reason.
Yep, yep. Is it fair to say, no matter how good or bad, Zoom meetings are, they never get quite the same flavor as being one is we have 2 full days in the room to work on things. But number two, you have lunch, dinner, breakfast, all the times to get to know everybody else, to find out what they're doing that works well, what they're doing that works poorly. Um, the other thing, somebody said that earlier. Oh, Nathan said it earlier. I did exactly what we're doing for years as a member of the ESC board of directors. And then I was in a mastermind group for years with Ann Kennedy, and I've done stuff with Jay Abraham and others. And, one of the single biggest values I found is sitting in a room with somebody doing double, triple, quadruple what I was doing, saying to myself, their location isn't as good as mine. They're not as smart as I am. They have no opportunities that I have. If they can do that, I can do that or more. Um, so what you find when you're in the room with people is it's easy to think they have a better location, they have more money, they're smarter, they have more opportunities. But when you're actually sitting there in the room with them, what it does is it eradicates your excuses in many ways. What I found in the EFC era is I was usually the biggest operation in the room, by gross and by net. However, there was always something I could get, pissed off about for myself. Buzz Durgan Smith, I'm not sure you saw the picture of, I showed up at 10 o'clock last night and Buzz sent me a beautiful, big frame 10th degree black belt certificate from his association. I'll show you the photo of it. It looked like that Neiman that I sent you, sitting there in this box all wrapped up. I had no idea what it was. So out of the blue, he sent me a 10th degree certificate to flank the one that you surprised me with, which was a wonderful thing. But what I was saying is I could sit in the room and Buzz Durkin, I could get pissed off about how good his retention was compared to ours, or somebody else about how their classroom structure was, or somebody else about something they did with marketing. And to me, that's the reaction that gets you to go back and implement aggressively, just like Christian was mentioning, listening to Riley's marketing Parthenon and seeing, oh my God, look at what these guys are doing, or sitting listening to what Heidi is charging, and going, oh my goodness, I'm half of what she's doing, and I'm thinking I'm doing good on that. So it makes a huge difference.
That's what everybody said at the meeting when you ask, how's the year going, because it's only been a few months, and how's enrollments, and the one with the most enrollments was Riley, even over our $1 million schools. And then when we ask those schools what they had been doing in marketing, their marketing was minuscule compared to what he was doing. Even though he was a lot newer member, he's only been a member a year and a half or two, and these guys, some of them been at this 5 or 6 or 10 years, and they weren't doing enough of it. So
Yeah,
make sure you just double down on your marketing. You gotta be marketing. That's it.
absolutely. Okay, anything before we call it a day?
One more thing that
Go
Grandmaster
ahead.
Smith has always shared with me is what you learn are not like some of the big things. We're learning a lot of those things now, but it's a lot of the details and the small things that really help plug the holes in our bucket so that we can keep more income and our gross keeps going up. It's the little details that'll make the bigger difference. And those are the things that we're really getting together and working on in the live training, but also, like you said, with other school owners, and we're getting to know each other, what we're doing, what's working, what's not working so well. And it's just those little details, plugging in the holes, we always have holes, and we're just trying to plug those up.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Well, we'll call it a day. Reminder: put the live event in the fall on your calendar. Let your student, if you're not going to be able to have a skeleton staff, just tell everybody now that you're going to be closed for 3 days for that period for staff training. They'll all be delighted, and there's no issues with that whatsoever. But put it on your calendar now. Very important to be there. Bob, did you have something?
October 1st, October 2nd for the quick start, and then October 2nd and 3rd for our leadership guys. And that's going to be back at Evergreen, Colorado. You'll also be able to visit the Thornton School, as Christian mentioned, as well. Be able to check that out. And the hotel that we'll be at is the Comfort Inn Suites. Is that correct, Master Oliver?
Yeah, same place.
Yep. So maybe if you book a reserve a spot now, you can get a cheaper rate.
Yeah, that would be a good idea. We've had any number of times when they're pretty busy in season and they get booked up. So it would be a good idea to go ahead and book plane tickets. And although plane tickets will probably come down, as soon as the oil thing isn't a problem, the plane tickets will come back. But we book your hotel room. On the last note, I guess, is we always appreciate if you have school owners, association members, and so forth who need help, or who might be a good fit to work with us or not. But you're welcome to gift them all of my books, all the ones that are still in print. Just take them to extraordinaryteaching.com, and that'll give them a pre-digital copy of the Extraordinary Teaching book, but also the Failure School Marketing book, Mile High Maverick, etc. We're getting ready to do a webinar in a couple of weeks on how to market for summer. You guys are all welcome to attend. It'll be things that we covered with you, a month or two ago. But you're welcome to attend. But more importantly, you're welcome to invite anybody who needs some help. It's free, no obligation. I also put together a book on summer marketing. I'll post it in the members group, but we'll give them a free copy of that as soon as Merrick has it finished up. And then the following month, we're going to do a webinar on using AI tools for your school. What people are either apathetic and not knowledgeable about it, or they're panicked about it. Then the reality is somewhere in between is, there's several tools that are really good. They're not going to replace human contact. They're not going to replace human being talking to a human being talking on the phone, or a human being working with human beings in the school. But there are an awful lot of other tools that are really, really, really useful that I'll be working with on that webinar as well. So, feel free to invite anybody that you know in your association, or if you have a big association, we're happy to do a Zoom meeting or a webinar for them. So just thought I'd throw that out there as well.
Yeah, and definitely reach out to me. I mean, because I know that those spots are going to fill up pretty quick. So have them contact me. You all have my phone number, 720-256-0208. And I know Master Oliver mentioned some of the tools that he'll be covering. I want to make sure that they have all of that on the front end. So I'd love to speak with them. Please.
And
Fantastic.
you can make me host, Bob.
Yes, sir.
Yes. There you go.
After recording.
And Master Smith, I either won't be on the meeting tomorrow, or I'll have to leave pretty early.